Hey everyone, I'm Ben Abben with the Rogue Eats, Drinks, and Lifestyle Show. Welcome to my house. Many of you may know I'm a stand-up comedian, but what you don't know is I spent 15 years in the kitchen, from down in LA to right here in Southern Oregon. With our new series called Diced, we're going to be making simple home-cooked recipes that even you can make. That's right, even you. Today we're going to be making Pico De Gallo and some homemade fresh chips. Let's get started. So for our Pico De Gallo, we got some fresh Roma tomatoes, some cilantro, keep the stems and the leaves if you can, 1 jalapeno, and 1 red onion. I'm also gonna add some garlic puree to that. Let's get going. We're gonna do a nice little chop of these onions. People always think that you can do this, make it perfect. Cooking's not perfect. You do it with love, it won't matter, it'll taste good. If you don't know how to cut, you can also just put this stuff in the blender. You know, salsa's pretty easy like that. I remember back in the day when I had to cut a whole box of onions, which is like 70 onions. And then let me tell you, you're pretty much crying the whole day. All right, now I'm gonna chop up these cilantro stems. Get the ends off, obviously, wash them, and then you get a nice fine chop here. Try to keep them together. Get a couple more in there, a little coarse chop here. The stems are where the flavor in the cilantro really is. That's why it's best for salsa. The leaves are more for garnish. All right, let's cut these tomatoes up. What I like to do is I just cut the end off of them, cut them in half, and I do everything uniform. So all in the same, you know, keep it together like an assembly line. All right, so these tomatoes now, simple. I mean, doesn't have to be perfect. I'm just gonna put them in threes here, get little squares basically, call it a day. Making your own salsa is gotta be probably one of my favorite things to do because I know that it's such a good bounty once you're done. You get to taste the freshness that you just created. Oh man, there's nothing like that. All right, that does it for the tomatoes. Let's get a little bit more cilantro, some leaves in there. Even though we have most of this, all the stems in there. This is about a half a bunch. 7 tomatoes, half a bunch of cilantro, 1 red onion, 1 jalapeno, a little bit of garlic, a little bit of oil, salt, pepper, little cumin. All right now, so I'm just gonna give this a rough chop. Little sideways action. And you can measure this however you want. That's the beauty of cooking for yourself is you get to do whatever you want. Not however someone else wants it to taste, right? So if you like salt, you can put more salt. If you like extra jalapeno, you want it real spicy, you can do that. All right, so the jalapeno. Several ways to cut this really. Best way to do it, cut off the end and just throw it in a blender or a Roboku, something like that with some oil, so then you don't have to touch it at all. But since we're doing a cooking show here, I'm gonna show you, I'm just gonna slice it up real thin like. Try to keep towards the end now. That's where all the seeds are hiding, and that's the real spicy part. So I'm gonna leave those out. I got my thin slices here, and now I'm just gonna do another chop over it. Real simple. Your salsa will always get spicier the next day too, so keep that in mind. You think you might have too much jalapeno or not enough, check it the next day, and you can always add stuff. That's the beauty of cooking, is you can always add more. You can never take it away, but you can always add more. So say if I had too much jalapeno in the salsa, I'd want to add more tomatoes, right? All right. So that does it for the jalapenos. So boom. What I got here, some salt, little tajin, little pepper, some cumin, and that garlic puree I was talking about. Basically what you do is you take like 10 cloves of garlic, put them in a little Roboku or a blender, and add some olive oil, and then let it go, get it nice so it'll pour out of whatever you want to put it into, whether it's a squeeze bottle or just an old hot sauce bottle like I got here. All right, so I'm gonna pour a little bit of this in there. Not too much, so you don't want it too garlicky. You can always add more. Remember, you can always add more. So you give it a taste, some pepper, and some cumin. And don't be shy with the cumin. A little tagine, if you're into that, and then some salt. I washed off my limes, and now I'm gonna do a little thing where I like to roll them a little bit. Get your palm down there, roll them. Make sure you take the sticker off so you're not eating sticker. Toss that aside, and then do a roll on them. So you just roll, and what you're doing is you're loosening up the pulp, right? So it makes it a little bit easier to squeeze them, get all the juice out. Just go right into it. I'm probably just gonna use 1.5 lime. I'm gonna save the other half of the lime for my chips. Now it's best to use 2 spoons and not your hands. I mean, you can use your bare hands if you want. If you're not doing a cooking show, it's even easier because then you don't have to wash your hands off. But when you have the 2-spoon method, you can get everything off the bottom. Just kind of circular it around a little bit, toss everything in there. All right, everybody. This is our Pico De Gallo. All right, now it's down to the chips. Fresh chips blow your mind. You just can't get anything better than homemade fresh chips, okay? So I went down to the Mexican market and I got myself some corn tortillas, hand pressed today. I left them out, let them air out a little bit, and I'm gonna cut them into chip form. I got myself a pot of hot oil ready to go. Let's take it over there. Let's throw some of these fresh corn tortillas in this oil. Now what I used here is a little saffron oil, avocado oil, and just some regular olive oil. Just a little bit of olive oil. You can use anything. You can use vegetable oil, corn oil, whatever you want to use. Preferably I like to use like saffron oil or something a little bit lighter. All right, so we got a nice batch in there. Try to separate them a little bit so they don't stick together. Stir them around. I like a nice non-stick pan because it just makes it a little bit easier. As you can see, they start to boil, they start to bubble up a little bit. That's okay, don't try to push them down or anything like that. Those are kind of fun to bite into, so leave those the way they are. This is how easy it is to make homemade chips, and the taste is night and day. You will not go back to bagged chips after you start making them from home. And if you want, you can probably try to do it in your air fryer. I mean, I'm not a big fan of the air fryer, but hey, whatever you gotta do, you know what I'm saying? Anything you gotta do. So let them go for a little while. How do you know when they're done? Usually they'll start to change color, get a little darker. Now you don't want them to get too brown because then you know you might have burned them. You want to have your seasoning right next to your basket of paper towels where your chips are going to dry, and you want to season them immediately because you want the little bit of oil and that seasoning to stick to the chip. Lime juice, whatever else you may want to add can be added later on. All right, these fresh chips looking good. Get my little seasoning in there, a little Salt Bay. All right, everyone, thank you very much for watching our first episode of our new series, Diced, the Rogue Eats, Drinks, and Lifestyle Show. Make sure to continue to support local, and we'll see you on the next episode.